We need to start believing that the first step is the easiest. We're told the exact opposite all of our lives, but every one of you who's ever been frustrated with watercolor knows the first tiny, easy step is often the most inspiring on this entire journey. I needed to record a video. It's what I do. I was getting over a cold and I was super tired, and I didn't feel like painting. After all the thinking and flipping through pretty books and all the coming up blank, I was ready for a nap. But no, here's what I did. And hopefully what I did will help you the next time you're feeling like you have absolutely no clue or entirely no motivation to paint. I picked up my favorite brush. I started there. The rest, my friends, is some seriously good watercolor history. Let me show you how to create the easiest watercolor pattern that will be your go-to whenever you're feeling undermotivated. Before we get to the painting part, here are the 4 simple steps we're going to use. Number 1, grab your favorite brush, the one you've been using the most. Number 2, figure out 3 to 5 colors that you've been going to day after day most recently. Number 3, you're going to paint that one shape that you seem to paint so often, no matter what you're working on. And number 4, repeat. All right, here we go. I'm starting with one of my favorite colors from this palette, the peachy, pinky tones, and I'm creating kind of this arc shape with my 1/2-inch dagger. This is a shape I create all the time. I'm repeating with a little bit of red on my brush. I didn't rinse in between. And now I'm going to repeat this double stroke, pink peach, and then the red. That's pinky peach, and then the red. And I'm just going to keep repeating it. Now, this is like a 9x13 piece of watercolor paper. I wanted some room to move, but do what you're comfortable with. I will say the bigger paper for this really loose pattern works really well. And as I repeat these marks, I'm kind of turning them. They're not all facing in the same direction. I love this creamy pink. I've been using it a ton, so I'm going in and holding my brush perpendicular to the page, I'm creating a really loose spirally circle. So the circle's not going to be filled in perfectly. I'm going to leave some very obvious white space and then repeat. Now this is a symmetrical thing, so you don't have to turn the circle because, so you could vary the size of the circle as you repeat this mark throughout, but other than that, it's pretty straightforward on the repeat step. Now, something I want to mention, this is such an important tip, don't think too much about each element. The decisions you make in this pattern, you're already in a state where you didn't want to paint and you're unmotivated. If you start overthinking, friends, you're not going to continue. So 2 to 3 seconds on each decision. Okay, loosey-goosey flower popped into my head. So I'm going to load up with some red and create this sketchy, bouncy flower with the very tip of my brush. And this, I'm doing dry brush, so not a lot of water on my brush. And I'm holding the brush perpendicular and I'm just kind of bouncing and scratching around an invisible center. And repeat. Next decision, making it quick. I love this light yellowish olive green in my palette, and I'm just gonna make a quick boxy mark over top some of the white space in those crazy swirly circles from earlier in my pattern. And you guessed it, repeat. What I love about this type of pattern, friends, is that it shows you the way as you go. No planning is required because every mark that you make is a mark that you repeat. And then the next decision only comes after you've filled the entire page with a whole lot of information. So usually by the time I'm done repeating that shape, say 15 to 20 times, I've already figured out, I think this is going to be my next move. So a really important tip at this stage is let the painting inform you. Don't try to figure it all out ahead of time. And I love that color and that mark so much, I'm going to repeat it in some of the white space along the way in this composition. Now you might want to paint along with me after you've watched this whole video and try to copy what I've done. I actually think that would be an incredibly useful exercise, but I encourage you then to break out on your own next time and try something completely built from your own ideas. What brush do you love? What marks have you been making? What colors are you loving right now? I love this blue in the Art for Joy's Sake palette. When it is watered down, it is the most lovely, creamy, soft blue. So with the tip of my 1/4 inch dagger, I'm just doing a little like quarter round mark on some of the edges of these round swirly circles. Okay, you guessed it, we're going to repeat. One of the brushes that I find most meditative and cathartic to use again and again is my liner brush. So I've decided at this point, knowing full well that this is going to take some time, to go ahead and invest in some really beautiful, lyrical, whimsical sketch lines throughout the entire pattern. And yeah, it's going to take me a while, but I know the joy that's waiting for me. So I'm loading up my brush. I have to reload often, and I'm just starting to create some tendrils coming out from different areas of the pattern, and on the ends of each, a simple teardrop leaf shape. In the beginning, I'm not really sure here. I didn't know where I wanted the tendrils to come from. Did I want them to kind of start always from the same element? Did I want to try to make some of these flowers look like they had whimsical stems on them? And honestly, even as I repeated this technique throughout, I never really picked up a very obvious pattern. But just the nature and the quality of the whimsical thin line was enough to keep this looking like a pattern element that made sense. And just another little tip for you, feel free to rotate the page. This is an all over pattern, so I didn't want my hand to get in the wet paint as I got about halfway through some of these steps. So I would just flip the whole page around, and it made it a whole lot easier. I've been loving my cat's tongue brush, and I love adding contrast always, so some dark brown dots in the middle of those scratchy flowers. I already had the brown on my brush, so I watered it down a little bit and did a press and drag, quick lift here and there and everywhere for a little leaf moment in my pattern. And I wasn't done with the cat's tongue brush, nor was I done with that yellowy olive green. And so I'm repeating this same leafy stroke with that new color. Apparently I'm still not done with the cat's tongue, but I wanted to add some sheer fill to some of these whimsical leaf sketches that I added. So I mixed up a creamy sage green, and I'm just going in and adding it very sheerly, softly, and letting the paint run out wherever it decided to run out. I believe that this is one of my favorite moments in the pattern. Just so fun, so good. And this decision, even though I didn't fret over it, became one that really brought this pattern to life. I felt like I needed more contrast, so I went in with the dark brown on top of that yellowy olive green mark that I made in the white areas earlier on, and repeat. I want to tell you something about my mindset as I was working through this painting. Remember where I started. I started tired, not feeling the best, frustrated, unmotivated, right? I mean, you saw my face at the beginning of this thing. But friends, literally within about 2 minutes of deciding quickly the strokes to make, repeating them, and on and on and on, I felt lighter. I didn't feel tired anymore. I felt energized but relaxed. I'm not kidding. I am not lying to you. I'm not trying to blow smoke. I really felt the effects of just letting the watercolor lead me and letting what I know has brought me joy before lead me to a good, beautiful place. Blow smoke, where does that colloquialism come from? I know somebody will tell me in comments. I hope it's nothing bad. Anyway, friends, let me know in comments, are you planning to give this a try? And I really, really hope the answer is heck yes. Go ahead, let me know down below. And while you're at it, if you feel like you're inspired here, if you feel like this channel has made a difference for you in any way, I would be so appreciative of a boop. That's a like on this video. It really helps me out. And because I liked filling the leafy sketches with that sage green, I'm gonna go ahead and fill some more with a peachy pink. I literally feel like I'm using all the brushes in my brush set, and I'm bringing out the number 2 round and adding some blue, the same blue from before, just a little more concentrated. Blue dots, 1, 2, 3, and repeat. Perfect example of let the painting lead you. I love that blue so much, and those blue dots all over made me realize that seeing more blue in this composition would be helpful. So I'm adding it to some of the areas of those scratchy red flowers. Okay, now I'm feeling bold. This is risky, but I'm going for it. I adore those sketchy lyrical moments with my liner brush, so I'm going in with the dark brown and going big. Big teardrop shaped leaves. Let's see what happens when I repeat this craziness. I realized that just one big leaf repeated all over was a little weird, so I added 2 in each area that I repeated, one being a little bit bigger than the other. And then I was super, super pleased. I have one more thing that I do when I'm completely unmotivated, but I know that I need the joy of painting to lift my spirits. So check out this video next so you don't miss this super simple approach to getting motivated fast. And for now, I wish you happy painting, friends.